Hello, and welcome to Shades of Pleasure, a podcast celebrating pleasure, sexuality, and the vibrant, inclusive spectrum of love, gender, and relationships. I'm your host, Mo, and with me are my co-hosts, Melissa, Wayne, and Kelly. And together we hope to dismantle tropes that no longer suit us and change the narrative towards more authentic living. Go ahead.
Okay,
Go on.
so
Sorry,
yeah,
Wayne.
it was just saying that like it sucks that like somebody who is working on a project, a creative project, has to remove themselves because they're worried about what they'll be looked how they'll be viewed because it's almost like as if they're taking a political stance about people who are oppressed, right? Like, oh, let me not get into that because if I speak about something that interferes with the system, then I'm looked at as a person who's probably trying to be problematic. And my thinking is that, man, we need more of that.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
more
you're
people.
complicit. If you don't push back on that, then you're complicit in it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
everything. It's where we spend our money. It's how we work with our clients. It's whether or not we support people, whether or not we show up. Like I was so glad we went to Dyke Day, LA, and last had a booth there just to like be out in the community and stand up for the oppressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
Sorry, go ahead, Wayne. I can see you
I
waiting.
guess yeah, for me it's really hard for me to not be able to see that, when I see people like not standing up, like if we don't stand up for people who are oppressed, right? We don't understand that it's eventually coming to everybody. It doesn't just stop in one space,
Yeah.
right? And then we
Yeah.
don't even understand how it stifles our us while
Yeah.
because we allow this to happen. Like it does not allow us to be our best version of ourselves. It does not allow us to show up, and again, like what are we how are we modeling for our children by not standing up, right? Or for people who are around us, right? Or people who don't have a voice, like people who do have a voice,
Yeah.
why are we so worried about lose what are we there? I guess that's the question. Like, what are we afraid of losing, right?
Yeah.
By standing up, right?
Yeah.
Like, what can be taken from us if the people stand behind us?
Yeah.
I just those things like always have bothered me. Like, man, like you have such a platform. You're worried about losing this, maybe this,
It's credibility if you align with something,
right, or
that's
sponsor or whatever the
yeah,
case may be, right? But you
that's
but you
not
would gain so much
mainstream.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gain so much more over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, the the idea of karma comes to mind, but like, those people, like, I don't see them doing a lot of, I didn't see that actress's career flourish or that person's children's book flourish. Like, I didn't see any of that happen. So yeah, there was a little bit of vindication because I think that my project did better than both of them did. Um, However, I still like, I think that I still experience this, like, recently, like people say things to me, like in recent years, like let's talk about like the more recent 10 years, like people just like having judgment around, um, drug use, for example. Um, and I think about the people that do that, or the people that had something to say about, oh shoot, I lost my train of thought.
Hmm.
Anyway,
You went from drug use to
I know. And now where was I going to go with that?
Well, as you were talking, what came up for me, and hopefully it comes back to you. Hope wow. I realized that, it's one of those things, right? Oppressed people oppress people.
Yeah.
It's a system that rolls down. Like
Yeah.
you're oppressed at work, you come home, you oppress your family.
Yeah.
Your kids are oppressed, they go out to school, they oppress other kids. It's just
Yeah.
like when do we break the cycle of oppression, right? Like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like and it's so I see it in so many different things. Like it's so prevalent in our society,
Yeah.
oppression at all levels. And I just like and it hurts to see it. It's like, wow, like how don't we understand what we're doing and how we are preventing ourselves from becoming so much more than what we are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like there have been times where, and this topic, it just came up on TikTok. There's a very famous tarot reader, a very famous, I don't know, famous, but like uh someone that had over 1 million followers, tarot reader,
Mm.
who just started posting this week that they're no longer doing tarot because they found Jesus. And like I don't, you can't kid about this stuff, but they're getting so much backlash. And I wanted to chime in on that because it's like, it's fine that you don't want to read tarot anymore. It's fine that we switch paths, that we go a different direction, kind of like therapists who want to now do coaching. Or even when I closed my therapy practice, when I closed my sex therapy practice, people were like, "You can't do that, Mo. You built this business. Oh my God, what else are you going to do?" And it actually helped my business. It allowed me to expand. I ended up getting a book deal to write the sex positions book, right? Like it actually helped me. I ended up coming back around to sex therapy, but like everybody's got this idea of how we should live our lives. And that's one piece of it. Yes, we should be able to, veer off and go take a hard left if we want to, make a U-turn if we want to. And, we get to make those choices. I think what's rubbing people the wrong way about this particular tarot reader switching lanes is because she's not just saying, "Hey, I'm not going to do tarot readings anymore." She's saying, "Hey, I'm not doing tarot readings because I found Jesus." And like what came up for me immediately was like that is causing harm right there. All of these million followers trusted you as a tarot reader, and now you're leaving that because of something that we know organized religion has been super complicit in oppression, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
it is the colonizer's language. And for this, wildly popular tarot reader to switch lanes in this, it just feels like everyone's getting re-traumatized. That's what came up for me. Like it's giving witch trials, right? Right. Like, the
Totally.
totally giving, so it's like everybody's surmising like what happened. Some people are saying they see a dark energy around her. Some people are talking about how they stopped following her months ago because they just had a feeling. But the reality is, I think that like it's giving re-traumatization because
Mm.
that's what the colonizers did. They
Yeah.
came and they said, "What you're doing is not what we want." And so therefore there's something wrong with it. Right. And of course they're going to burn all the witches.
Yeah. Again goes back to just like yeah in using religion like religion is has been used as far as we can go back in American history as an oppressive control device, right?
Yeah.
Like with when it comes to slavery, when it comes to
Yep.
women, when it comes to children, so many things, right? When it comes to sexuality, when it comes to school education, right? So many areas as it
Yeah.
pop up.
Conversion therapy comes from, religion, right? And how
Mhm.
many people has that harmed? I personally know people that it's harmed.
Yeah, and so yeah, go ahead, Kelly. Sorry.
Oh, I mean, I fall under that category. Go ahead.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And the way that we survive, I think, has also come under fire, right? Like, you know, using drugs, the gay community coming together and going to clubs and nightclubs and that being a place of community, but also maybe a place of heavy drug use, which equals survival, right? Community survival. This is how everyone's, getting by after all of this oppression.
Yeah, and even speaking of that, like I follow this woman, Kim Tallbear, and I always tell people just to kind of like look into indigenous cultures and see like how many different genders did they have, and again, this was through religion. Christianity
Mhm. I
comes in,
saw her speak. She's pretty amazing.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
and so you got these people, you got Christians coming in, Christian missionaries, whoever coming in, and, then you have the religion coming in right behind it, and then it says, hey, look, like we only have two genders. This is what it is,
Yeah.
right? So again, we're controlling sexuality. And it takes away from who we actually are. And I think that if many people understood and knew that indigenous people identified many different ways, it could change. you know, like how you perceive things or how you view things, because it's like, oh wow, I did not know that. Like I didn't know it. You know, it was something that I learned when I was in school. You know, and so it's like, oh my gosh, like that's so eye-opening around like the whole. It made me rethink everything I ever thought I knew about gender. You
Yeah.
know, and I think that's I tell so many people like, please go look up and just learn. Even in African cultures, same way. There's so many people out giving information online right now. You can learn about just these different things. Then you get to see how, again, coming back to religion, how oppressing it actually is, and how it takes away from who we naturally are. And you know,
Right.
because a lot of us feel these things inside of us, but we're just afraid to act on them because we're worried about being ostracized or judged, or then we, plus coming from church, deal with a lot of shame, and we know these things because it's things that we deal with our clients on a regular. You know, we see them coming in and dealing with all the things that we're talking about today. You know, and it's so hard a lot of times to unlearn these things, and because you know it's so many years of trauma, right, when we talk what we're talking about. And I think that, I remember Melissa said something one time. She said, you know, even when we talk about racism, I don't even think that white people understand how it impacts them, right? Like it doesn't even allow them to be in their full self, because it's walking around with this level of fear and anxiety around, you know, what could be or what could happen. And I was like, man, like I couldn't imagine like walking around every day with just a fear, you know, in so many areas, right? Women included, you know, like it's just it wouldn't, yeah, it's unimaginable all the anxiety that would cause.
Yeah.
I feel like, what you were saying, that people don't even understand how affected they are around the, colonization. I heard a podcast recently on Fela Kuti. I think that's how you say his name. He's sort of like the father of like Afrobeat.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
he was born in Nigeria, and he was fascinated with some things in the United States. And there was a woman here in the United States who was, you know, she was born in the South, but her parents got her out of the South very quickly when she was really young. She came out to Los Angeles, and they sort of kept the human, or they kept everything about like Martin Luther King Jr., all this kind of riots and everything like that was so anti-black and racist. They kept that from her, so she kind of learned about it on her own, and so she was really fascinated with um, Africans, like literally people from Africa. And so she ended up meeting Fela, and she was so disenchanted because he had been so affected by colonization, and he had to come to the United States and meet her and learn a lot of stuff that made him want to get in touch with his African roots. And he was from Nigeria, was born in Nigeria, and it was he was like in his 20s or 30s before he even realized, oh shit, yeah, this is actually not my culture. This is not what my family knew and learned. This has been all stripped away by colonization. So I do think it's something that people have to learn about, because they don't even realize how their culture and their roots were so deeply affected by it in some cases.
Hmm.
And Wayne, I can't hear you. I think you're muted.
Oh no, I was saying that Melissa's here now.
Oh, hey, Melissa. Nice to
Hey,
see
Hi,
you.
Melissa.
hey, everybody.
Hi. We're kind of zigzagging all over the place here, but that part of that podcast really was very interesting, and it's about exactly what we're talking about right now. If anybody's interested in info.
I was telling them, Melissa, earlier, like before you got here, is like how you were, you know, we were talking one day about just the whole level of, you know, excuse me, oppression and racism, and how you would just explain like how it affects, you know, excuse me, how it affects white people, you know, who are racist, you know, like how they have to deal with these things on a regular basis because of, you know, the feeling that they're oppressing others comes back to them. And
Hmm.
I can't remember what words you used, but you know, I just was telling them how you were broken down. I was like, and I hadn't thought about it in that way. And I was like, wow, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, I don't remember either, but I think maybe there was, I'm thinking of the book Pedagogy of the Oppressed. It's a book by Paulo Freire. It's a book that I read in grad school. And it's a really good book on oppression. So,
What's it? What is it?
Pedagogy of the Oppressed.
And yeah, what's in? Oh, nice. Oh,
By
yeah, I've
Paulo
seen that,
Freire.
but I've never read it.
Hmm.
But this all kind of started because it's Pride Month and the history of Pride Month, and Stonewall is almost whatever. We're almost at the date of it. I don't think we figured out exactly how many years ago it was, but
I'm trying to do the math in my
none of
head.
us are math.
1969.
Well, from 1969 till now.
So if I was born in 72 and I'm 54, 1969 would have been 57 years ago.
Yeah, and a lot has changed, but I think some of it's going backwards right now.
Yeah, that's the sad part and scary part.
Mm-hmm.
But this is kind of goes along with the episode that we did that didn't get recorded on coaching, right? And like a lot of people leaving therapy. One of the things I said, Melissa, was therapy is not the flex that people think it is, right? That it used to be, maybe. And I told a story about a tarot reader who has left the industry of tarot reading for religion. And this person had like 1 million followers and things like that. So,
Did y'all get into like what you thought the reasons were for the shift in like therapy not being a flex anymore, or therapy not being a flex as people think it is?
we touched on it. I think um, for me, it's because of all, like all of the we talked about academia, but also the medical industry, and this like idea that it's 1 hour a week to bill insurance. Like we have to do it with the medical model and dealing with the medical model and how that impacts everyone. We didn't really get into that part,
Yeah.
but that's one of the things that I talk about a lot.
Yeah. Academia, the medical model, the governmental board that, oversees
Yeah.
everything, insurances.
Yeah. Kelly brought
Yeah.
up, Freud, and how it's, Freud being one of the sort of like grandfathers of psychotherapy and psychoanalysis. And he's a white man, and his predominantly clients were white
Yep.
housewives, you know?
Yeah.
Rich
Yeah.
white housewives in Austria. So you
Yeah.
want a very specific group, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
to base
Yeah.
all of your studies on.
Speaking of, you were talking about tarot reading, and the conversation about the flex on therapy or the not flex on therapy reminds me of like even in spirituality, and I see it happening in therapy about therapy too. It's like, what do they call it in like the spiritual community of like a spiritual ego or something like that? There's this like, I'm evolved because I go to therapy. I do therapy, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Emotional, like maturity or something, like this belief that you're somehow more emotionally connected. I mean, I think that like when you do work on yourself, whether it's
mhm.
in therapy or with a coach or, whether through drugs, psychedelics or whatever, if you're actually doing the work, looking at your trauma, looking at your history, looking at understanding the process and how all of this is impacting you and how you're showing up in the world. Like if you're actually looking at all of that,
Yeah.
it can be with therapy, it can be somehow, but I think all of that is still valuable and important. Um, but I think the therapy, the way that it's set up, it's only really accessible to a small group of people.
Hmm.
And um, to be and it's also like the type of work that it does and the way that it's set up, we've talked about this, is it
Yeah.
creates burnout for the practitioners.
Burnout by practitioners, yeah. And, yeah, this is a whole nother conversation, but also is it like, you know, like, I think a lot of the traditional therapy models is, focused on like just like coping, it's just a lot
Hmm.
of coping skills and whatnot.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, that would be an interesting conversation, not to take it too far off, but just to mention that would be an interesting conversation I'd like to have at some point of like when we say doing the work, what does that really mean
Oh yeah.
to do the work? We hear that a lot in yeah, that would be a great conversation to pick apart.
Yeah, we should write that down because I think that would be a great one. I've said it. I asked for definitions like, what does that mean doing the work?
Yeah, I have a whole theory on that, but today's not the day for it.
Yeah.
Um, but so pride, the history of pride, why we do this, what it means. I feel like I can think of several people that I know that are like, yeah, I mean, that's fine, but like, why do you have to have a parade? Why do you have to celebrate it? I'm like, do you understand how shitty that is of you to say? Like,
Wow.
it just blows me away. Um, and I think that's harmful and problematic.
So harmful and problematic. Like, why is it harmful and problematic? Because it erases people,
Hmm.
right? It erases the experience, right? If the people that say that to you, the people that have said that to you, are basically invalidating your entire experience.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what colonization is too, right?
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to come in, we're going to take your land, we're going to take your culture. You have to dress like us, you have to talk like us, you have to have quote unquote normal names like us. You've got,
Yeah.
like everything,
Yeah.
you have,
It's just the same exact people that didn't want to work on my film, right?
yeah,
It's the same kind of concept,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And my God, I think about that. I think about how fucked up that is. Like, I've heard a lot of people make fun of black folks names that are, you know, very different than an Anglo, like than like a Caucasian, right? And I'm like, do you realize one of the reasons that is because they were bred like animals, and sometimes the children would be taken away, and so they made really unique names because there wasn't a last name. So they gave them a really unique name so that they would know out in the world if they heard that name that was their kid. Like, and you're gonna make fun like that. That is such a sad, that is just so sad to me that that's why, one of the reasons why the names can be so different. And then you're going to say, yeah, that's not cool or make fun of him. What the hell, man? I don't know. I'm going off in a bunch of different directions here. Sorry.
Yeah. I just think like yeah, I always say like I just think it just comes from such a privileged place to be able to say like why have a Pride Month, why have a Black History Month, right? Because everything is centered around you, and so you feel seen and heard in everything that is out here, But we're talking about people who are again who don't have voices, who are marginalized, who are shamed and oppressed, right? The people who need a voice, right? And every time they try to get out here and say something or make their presence known, they get shut down in many different ways, right? It's always like nope, let's not let them be seen. So yeah, so then you
Yeah,
have
it
people
just
who
perpetuates the same cycle. Yeah.
Mhm.
right.
Hmm.
So hence again going back to what I say, like people who have platforms and voices, yeah, have to be louder because you hear that, right? Like why you got to be so loud or why does it have to be so whatever? Because you're not hearing us, because you're not seeing us, and so because you're trying to push it down and not make it, be seen. So then I have to be just that much louder, Yeah.
Well, yeah. And also, it's more, Marnie said something at Dyke Day about how many protests and stuff she goes to. And she's like, I mean, it's who better than a white woman? I mean, maybe a white man, but like, it's 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 kind of more our job to show other folks that are being problematic, at least for around the racism stuff. And I mean, gay things too. Yeah, the people that aren't oppressed are the ones that have to stand up and help the ones that are. Because like, do you think women would be able to vote if it had just been the women complaining about it? No, like some men, they were the ones in power, so people had to convince the men in power to change some things. But that wasn't going to happen just because some women were being loud about it, right?
Yeah, every time Marnie brings that up, I think it's such a great,
Outlet.
um, yeah, it's just a reminder, like, yes, she's a white woman and she's like, this is what I can do, right? I can't stop slavery. I can't stop, the hundreds of years of oppression, but I can go out and march,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Even to that point, right? I think that, again, it's not just, and I always say this, it's not just one group of people's job, right? It's
Yeah.
for all of us to come together and work together, right? Because just one group couldn't just make it happen. We all need help, and if we all, if we understood that, if we all, came together and all showed up, like the system. can't continue in the way that it does. And I think that's why there's so many divisive tactics used, right? Like we talk about all the isms, right? Sexism, racism, classism, all these things are used purposefully, right? To keep the division going, because if we
Mhm.
understood that if we work, we're greater if we work together, like what changes we could actually make and what achievements we could get to if we decided, if we just all understood it, like this is all a distraction. Like none of us are getting what we want. Let's just call, let's so
Yeah.
everybody, most people are oppressed outside of the people who have the haves, right? The rich, the wealthy, whoever, right? Outside of that, most of us are, well, not most of us, all of us are oppressed, right? And if we all work together, we wouldn't have to, we could change the system is my point, right? If we all work together, we could see what's happening, what's going on. And we just change how we saw society and saw the human side of all the people who are out here trying to get, equal rights or whatever the case may be across the board. Man, I can imagine what we can do if we all work together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because
people
again,
get
it's not just on black people, it's not just on white women, it's not just on, you know, uh
people.
uh gay people, whatever. It's on all of us to work together. Like we're all wanting the same thing at the end of the day. We all want equality. We all want a better way of life, right? None of us want to feel oppressed, right? And yet and still we still allow these systems to stay in place. Like how often, like even speaking back, going back to therapy, like when was the last time there was some major changes and updates to mental health, right? What about 100 years ago, 50 years ago? It hasn't been recent. And even though we know that there's a lot of things that has shifted and changed, and we are so much more understanding and knowledgeable about a lot of things now, but we haven't really made a shift to make a real change. And I love what you said about that, women, Kelly, about like, talking about just like, I see so much more conversation now about around women's sexuality when women are leading the conversation, not men. I love that, right? I've said like, man, why are we continuing to have these medical devices that are made by men that are so uncomfortable for women? When do women going to step into a role and to create these devices that are so much more comfortable, that probably are so much more beneficial to what actually needs to be done? And it's like so many things that can shift and change. And I'm looking for those things to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people buy into this idea that if equality is given, something's taken away from them. And that's not the case. But then, at least if we're talking about pride and stuff like that, religion really gets in the way. Like it's bad, it's evil, it's wrong, and that's not even the case in the Bible. The Bible doesn't say that. But as far as like mental health, you know, I think homosexuality, it was only like 1973 or 1975 that the DSM changed it from, I don't remember exactly how it was listed, but it was definitely a disorder. You know, it's not that long ago that was changed.
Which is crazy when you think about it. Like, wow, that's like literally not that long ago.
Mm-mm. When I was born in 73. I think it was either 73 or 75 I think it was the DSM-4. I don't know which one came out then, but
Right. So what you're saying is that before the 70s, you had, if you were gay, you had a disorder. You had a mental
you could be
illness.
locked up. Yeah, you could be locked up.
Yeah.
But I mean, how different is that than being sent to conversion camp? I mean,
Yeah.
it's still happening based on people's beliefs.
Yeah, based on beliefs and perhaps maybe, I don't know, ironically, like what I want to say, like I was thinking about the pride parades and, that question of like, well, why do you have to have pride? Why do you have to have a parade? Or why do you have to have pride? And we were talking about celebrating and erasure and things like that. But also, I think, and how, oh, you were saying how it's a privilege for them because white people are represented everywhere, or heterosexual, whatever, right, represented everywhere.
All
Yeah.
of it.
But it makes me think too about how, like, sometimes I think this is just my opinion. There's a lack of like sense of self, when there's a lack of sense of self, there tends to be this like conflict or yeah, this conflict or resistance to other people who might have, some sense of
Identity.
self, an
Yeah.
identity, who have some pride, some pride, some celebration, some something.
Yeah.
And it's almost like this like resentful, like or like
Envious.
envious, yeah, envious,
Well,
you
and
know?
here's the thing, like how many of those people that are complicit with the normative also are not being true to themselves. Like,
Right.
how dare you
Lost,
come
not being
out
true.
and bust out and identify as a lesbian? Like, how dare you do that?
Hmm.
I didn't do that.
I couldn't do that. I didn't do
I
that.
couldn't do that. I
Yeah.
didn't do that. And look at me now. I'm, married with kids, like whatever your case is, you didn't do it and you're mad that all of these other people did,
Yeah.
rebelled against society. And yeah, I think there is a lot of resentment there because
Yeah.
so many people don't push back
Hmm.
and are complicit and they hurt the peoples that do push back and simultaneously continue that hurt because of what you're talking about, resentment that they didn't do it themselves.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's vicious.
Yeah.
And everybody is in that scenario, the collective is suffering, right? The people that are celebrating pride and the people that are perpetuating complicit harm, everyone's suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And everybody's, the people that are complicit, like they're suffering the most because they're just pawns, right? They're just pawns in this, bigger thing that they actually don't really have a lot of control of, right?
Hmm.
And that being complicit, that form of being complicit is, as we call it, Stockholm syndrome, right? It's like identifying with the abuser.
Yep.
Hmm.
So, and we've all done that.
Yeah.
We can't live in the society and not do that to some level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we see it on a regular. Like I watched this Instagram woman the other day talk about this, like, why aren't we rioting in the streets right now? We see all the things that are happening, but yet we're complicit to it. We're allowing these things to happen. Like we're we know that they're not right. We know that they're wrong. So why aren't we outside? Like everybody. Why isn't everyone up in arms at this point? Like we literally see what's happening in the political field right now. We see who's in charge of the country. We see these things happening, but yet we're just sitting idly by and we're on our keyboards texting or complaining or whatever, but we're not really doing anything.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this goes back to our burnout episode. We're too burnt out to
Yeah.
do, right? Like Marnie was like, I want to go to a protest today, but I am exhausted, right? I'm working two
Mhm.
jobs and trying to survive in LA. And, you know, so
Right. But then it goes back to which seems kind of like almost like it's put there purposely to burn you out, right? To make you not be able
totally.
to have the energy to
Yes.
go in and do the things
All by
that
design,
yeah,
right?
all by design. Yes. All by design.
And then they call us conspiracy theorists.
Right. Yeah. How do you wake up tired every day? Like that's crazy. Like where does that? Yeah. Yeah. Mentally
Yeah.
exhausted.
Hmm. Mentally exhausted. Well, thanks for this
It
conversation.
just went in a bunch of different places, but it all made sense to
Yeah, I
me.
think we stuck to the theme of oppression, which is how Pride started as a riot.
Oh,
Um,
good. That was a good, brought it back around
brought it
though.
back around, 1969, and one of the leaders of that riot was a Black trans woman. Let's not
Nice. What
forget
was your name?
Marsha P. Johnson.
Marsha P. Johnson. Thank you, lady.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right.
Right.
So Marsha P. Johnson was an American LGBTQ activist, sex worker, and performer. So everybody
Mm.
look her up.
Yes. I love education. I love names. When we say names and we speak of like we're giving people to actually who they may have never heard of. They get to go look up and just new information and so I love that. Yes.
Tell you what, I would highly recommend. I think it's like a 5 or 6 part documentary on the Fela Kuti. It's amazing. I mean, I think they started out for it to be just about his music, but then he had such a rich life and the story that really connects with what we're talking about. So I highly recommend everybody go and listen to that.
Oh yeah, I agree. I've actually been to we have a friend who performs and does the whole Fela Kuti
Hmm.
tour and whatnot. Story is really,
Because
really
yeah,
great.
Yeah.
two of
Really,
his
really great.
sons are still that have like are still
Yeah.
playing the songs and carried on the
Very
traditions.
cool.
Yeah, we went to go see it in LA. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's really cool. All right.
Well, and I saw Pignon this week.
I really
Pignon? Pignon? What did I call it? What is it called?
Pillion,
Pignon. It's a
right?
gay
Pillion.
gay BDSM film that just came out
Hmm.
and it's on HBO. So
Okay.
if you're into if you want to learn about kink and BDSM in the gay community, this might be a good film for you. Cool.
Okay, y'all. I got a jam.
I got a jam too. Good to see you.
All right, bye
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Bye. Thank you for listening. Shades of Pleasure podcast is currently unsponsored and is brought to you by Los Angeles Sex Therapy and Last Collective in partnership with Shades Therapy and Shades of Non-Monogamy. To support our endeavor so we can continue to bring this pleasurable content, please visit our Substack at pleasureforthemasses.substack.com. Thank you for listening, and until next time.